have you heard that Steve Spagnuolo might make the Hall of Fame as a defensive coordinator? Or did I just make that up?
I'm not saying you made it up. I'm saying it's a wild. When we run through Hall of Famers on the Chiefs, this is what happens.
No,
this is what happens when you criticize the Chiefs.
No, it's not even
what you go all the way to the other side. Harrison Butker,
it's not even
the go. You just keep on going.
It's not even. We were talking about the head coaching search, and I was saying I hope Spag stays, and it's his best chance at making the Hall of Fame. And you're like, my God.
You should have been like, because our defense can be good.
Meanwhile, Drew, ask
play.
Wilds how many rings Bill Belichick has. How many does he have?
8.
Where's the other? Where's 2 of them from?
See, you just
exactly. He fell right into the trap.
Marlon Humphrey adding his voice to the chorus of people who don't want to see a Chiefs dynasty cemented, writing on Twitter, I have no reason for saying this other than being a hater. The Bills or whatever NFC team have to beat the Chiefs. We can't let them keep getting away with this. Also a fan of Ethereum. Crypto's back. Brewer, you're starting to think the Chiefs are gaining villain status.
They're not gaining villain status. They are clearly, absolutely, positively the villains now. They're the new evil empire. There's no doubt about it. And I got no problem with what Marlon Humphrey said. He is right on the money because, and he's not, for those, some people might think, is he talking about the refs when he says get away with it? I don't think he's talking about that at all. I think he's talking about the Kansas City Chiefs are doing something that they're on the verge of doing something we have never seen in modern NFL football. And that is not just about to win their third straight or on the verge of winning their third straight Super Bowl, which has never been done. They are making, and look, not Brady's Patriots, not Montana's Niners, not the Steel Curtain Steelers of the 70s, not the great Cowboys of the 90s. No other team, in my view, is doing what the Chiefs are doing right now. And that is looking like they belong in another league. They look like they're treating like all these other tremendous football players, awesome football players, look like a minor league teams compared to the Chiefs.
Really?
Yes, because they won 2 Super Bowls. No one's won 3. And then the next year when they're trying to win 3, they go 15-1. Forget the 15-2. They gave that to Denver.
Okay.
And I'm just like, that's what Marlon Humphrey is like. This has to stop.
And it looks like they don't have to play their best. That's the other piece of it.
See, and that's because here's the thing to me, Nick.
Yeah.
It's not just the success that's made them the evil empire or the villains. Yeah. It's how they're doing it. And not just like most times, not always, but in most cases, people love dynasties. The Jordan Bulls were beloved. The Shaq Kobe Lakers were beloved. All right. You know who wasn't beloved? The Duncan Spurs. Because they were boring. They won, but they were boring. If the Chiefs, I submit to you, if the Chiefs were 2 straight Super Bowls, 15-1, doing it the way they used to do it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Doing it the way Mahomes started out doing it, I bet you they would be beloved.
So
now they're dull, they're boring. Not boring because it's fun to watch Mahomes, but I'm just saying they're not exciting. They're not blowing teams out. There's no light show. I think if it was the light show, they'd be beloved.
I think if it were the light show, let's just say it were the light show, but the margin of victory was the same. They were just beating teams 38-35. You know what I mean? Let's just where it was close games. So I think that.
You think they'd be beloved?
No, I think that they would be more respected.
Yeah.
I think there would be less what's wrong with the Chiefs if instead of just being a really good offense and a really good defense, it was what it was the first year Mahomes got there, except pretend they won it in 2018. That's different. I think there are 3 reasons that they are clearly the villains. And the third one, I was going to do this first, but I'll set this aside, has to do with what I think is the kind of polluted conversation around them, which has to do with the officiating and social media, and the actual media is a big part of that. Set that aside. The other reason is this. You have more than half of the league who the last time they thought they had a real chance to either win a championship or the best team they've had in years, that team's season was ended by Kansas City. Because they're not, other than Buffalo, beating the same teams. The last great Bills team, how did that season end? The Chiefs. The last great Ravens team prior to 3 days ago, the Chiefs. The last time the Bengals made the playoffs, how'd that end? The Chiefs. The last really good Steelers team, how'd that season end? The Chiefs. The last Houston team and the one before with a good quarterback, the 2 times they've had good quarterbacks, how'd it end? The Chiefs. The only Miami team that people believed in, how'd it end? The Chiefs. The last time the Browns made the playoffs, well, pre-Flacco, pardon me, but with their own guy, how'd it end? The Chiefs. The only time the Jags made the playoffs, how'd it end? The Chiefs. The Titans in the AFC Championship game, how'd it end? The Chiefs. The Jags with Trevor, how'd it end? The Chiefs. You then go to the other conference, and by the way, I haven't even mentioned the AFC West. Denver, Chargers, Raiders, hate them. You can't win their own division. You go to the NFC, obviously Eagles and Niners. And then, oh yeah, by the way, who did I not mention? Well, what are some big markets? The Bears, what's the Bears issue? Oh yeah, they passed on Mahomes. What's the Cowboys issue? Oh yeah, America's team, are we sure? What's New England's issue? New England Jets are the only 2 teams they haven't knocked out of the playoffs in the AFC or their own division. What's New England's issue? They're chasing all of New England's records. Does Tampa have an issue? I don't know. They did beat us in the Super Bowl, but if they love Brady, Mahomes chasing him. Like, who's left? Who are we talking about? So there is real direct, God dog it. Not only do I not like them, they beat me. And they beat a team that I believed in. The other thing is this. We have never seen a face of the league guy never have adversity, never have a hiccup, never have a build. It was instant. So we've shown you the conference championship record. It's Brady with 14, Mahomes and Montana. But that actually, first of all, it's an unbelievable testament to Tom. But this next graphic is the jaw-dropping one. Okay, when did those guys make their 7th? Montana was a Chief when he made his 7th. He was 37. Tom Brady was 35. Mahomes is 29. Okay, early in their careers, how much did they win? Those guys, the guys with the most playoff wins. 10 wins, Flacco, nobody even cared. Big Ben, Aikman, Brady, Mahomes is at 16 and still has 1 or 2 more games to go. So the Patriots missed the playoffs. Montana even dealt with some adversity. There's been none of that. And then you add to it the fact that the tail is wagging the dog on the Chiefs' discourse in the media, which is people are taking, when it comes to the referee discussion, cues from social media. They're like, man, this is big on Twitter. I guess we've got to give legitimacy to it. And so now you have conspiracies, anger, fixes in, some weird political stuff because of Taylor and Travis, and there's never a man, they sure were bad, and it creates jealousy and it creates an inevitability which makes people hate them. Like that's what I think it is. And I think even if they were scoring a bunch of points, Brew, people would hate them.
I think it's the style.
I think it's the refs.
Wait, go ahead.
No, I think it's the close calls. I think that you laid out a lot political. It's like when you lay out all these, like, and this bill got signed. Like, nah, it's just 1 or 2 things that people decide on. They see a team that is very good, and they see a few close calls go that way. I thought the flop, and I know we're going to address it. We're going to address it later in the show. I thought the flop did a lot of damage to the narrative. I don't even have a problem with trying. To me, that's trying to draw a foul. So it's like, hey, you try to draw a foul, it is what it is. I thought it was hard to, and I know he apologized on the radio, but the flop. But when that narrative was already out there, then the flop. I think it just hurt. I think if he could get into a time machine, he wouldn't have done this because it adds a little fuel to the fire on the other calls. That I didn't have an issue with the other calls.
The idea that if not for this play, the Chiefs would be more like this.
I'm not saying they would be beloved, but this hurt the argument that they're not thinking that the referees don't play a part.
But so this is okay. I mean, you're right. We are going to get to the refs piece of it later, but the team that all of America is going to root for this weekend, Buffalo, not only does by the numbers their quarterback, not more than Mahomes, more than every other quarterback in the league, get more roughing the passer calls. Josh Allen does. Number one with a bullet. We also, jokingly almost, ran the highlight reel of his cartoonish flops, and that's just a sidebar. That's
for Josh?
For Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So, like that, my point is, we could find that for a lot of the top guys. It's a story for them because there's a I don't want to sound annoying, but it's just people are jealous of a team that has this much success, especially when they feel like it's fluky because it's not Brew, a light show, it's a blocked field goal. It's the Raiders not lining up properly. There's some stuff they feel like they shouldn't have had.
Again, and I don't want to throw a sour bomb into the middle of this conversation. I also don't totally agree with the question.
What?
I think Marlon Humphrey doesn't like the Chiefs.
What?
I think there's a handful of people that don't like the Chiefs.
Oh, I think
you don't think they're villains?
I think people from Kansas City and children like them. I don't think adults do.
I think that people vote with their eyeballs. And if the Chiefs continue to be the highest rated show on television, that shows that, and no one hate watches. That is a fallacy.
A lot of
from
people hate.
Howard. It's a fallacy from Howard Stern's movie where like they tune in to get the people that hate you watch even more.
Right.
If you really dislike a team, you do not watch them. People did not like the Spurs. You were correct, and the ratings went down.
No, but people are what? Don't you think? I understand your point about Stern, but set that aside. I think people are watching. Not because, I hate watching the Chiefs. They are rooting really, really hard against them.
I think they are rooting to Floyd Mayweather. People started watching him to see. Some loved him.
That's a fair
and
argument.
some were like, I want to see him get beat.
Yeah, I don't think people hated.
And I think he's similar. And Mayweather his last several years were dull. Yeah. He won. You couldn't beat him, but it was dull. I think this is what we're experiencing.
There is a David and Goliath thing, but I think the villains are sure. They are playing the villain role because they are, it's easy to root for the underdogs. But do I think people hate the Chiefs? No, because if they did, I think it would be reflective in the ratings, in the merch sales. I can show you 1,000 things where the Chiefs are the highest rated.
Chiefs
are
a lot of people love them, but I think a lot of people hate them too.
No, I think so just real quick, and then I know we have to move on. I think there is, when it comes to merch sales and stuff, I think there is a real skew from the Taylor Swift factor. I truly do. I think that they have cornered, a demographic that previously, young girls, I'm not saying young girls don't watch football, but young girls that didn't watch football that have started in the last 3 years, they're all Chiefs fans. And little kids love Mahomes. But the difference, nobody hated the Spurs. Nobody didn't care. That's different. That's where I think you're right. They weren't beloved like other dynasties, but
they weren't hated.
They weren't hated. This feels more vitriolic, and I think it is because it is an unprecedented level of success, and people have been conditioned by the media, and this is where I will blame the media. Sorry, just one more second here. When the conversation all year is this team's not that good, and then you can add to it, then how do they keep winning? Fix is in. If the conversation all year was, this is one of the greatest teams ever. They are so buttoned up. They're so well coached. So today, and I argued with J-Mac on Twitter about it. The idea of hey, look at the last couple years in the playoffs. The Chiefs don't get penalized. And the idea that maybe it's because the fix is in, or maybe it's Occam's razor, a really well-coached veteran team doesn't make mistakes in the playoffs. I think the audience is man, everyone's been telling me all year this team's not that good. Look, they're 15-1.
Where I would disagree is I don't think people have been saying they're not that good. It's just been that because they're so good, and I'm not even talking about style of play, though, but even on our show, we haven't talked about them as much as a lot of other teams because you've said it yourself. It's kind of boring. I'm not talking about their style, but they keep winning. And it is what it is. We understand they're the top team.
But we understand they're the top team. So that's where I disagree. The conversation on our show at various times this year was, is this the worst team of the Mahomes era? And I was like, guys, last year we had that conversation when it was maybe true. It was, how many times
even that
did I
was-
have the Chiefs atop the tiers? And Coach sat right here and said, well, of course, the committee's biased. Even though they have the best record, they're obviously not the best team.
Through how many games in Mahomes, we put up a full screen and would say the worst, and Mahomes threw, was he 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for a while?
I think it was when Mahomes was at the top of the tiers. I don't think anybody argued that much about the Chiefs being at the top of the tiers.
I don't know, bro. A series of little squeaker victories.
Yeah.
But
We're where is it? Where's the
right.
juice?
So this
Where
is my point. So this is what. So
the
the dynasty is in the record and the winning. So you're kind of, I think, proving my point. Even right now in the moment, as they're favorites to go back to the Super Bowl, and right now we think should be favored to win their 3rd straight championship. We can't get through me saying the media's covered them in a negative lens without you being like, man, Mahomes, it was fair. The wins were too close. And so I think the audience is conditioned to think this team must not be that good. They're good, but not great. And if that's the case, why do they keep winning? Must be the fixes.
Well, it's a confusing narrative. I don't think in any other sport, and we talked about it when a dynastic team, if LeBron all of a sudden is just averaging, 19 and 9, and they're winning games. They've sort of changed their whole,
But that's
style
exactly what Duncan did, to use Bruce's thing. That's just, I just don't, I don't think that example we ever really fit, because it's harder for greats in other sports to have a month-long slump like Mahomes did, because that's 15 games versus 5 games. And so I don't think that's apples to apples.
All right, Josh Allen still looking for his first win in the postseason against the Chiefs. The Bills thwarted Kansas City's bid for a perfect season behind Josh's heroic run on this 4th and 2 to seal the game. Josh's playoff numbers head-to-head versus Mahomes, not enough. What would another loss say about Josh?
That's crazy. Their combined touchdown turnover in these games is 18.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's crazy.
Nothing.
Oh, wow.
I'm
Nothing
saying
is
nothing.
a
Look,
great take. I don't agree with it, but it's a great take.
I thought he was playing with house money against the Ravens. And they were the underdogs. I get it. I guess people might have criticized him because they were at home. Okay? And they had lost the last 2 division games at home, right, in the playoffs. But they're not supposed to win this game. They are literally the underdogs. They're playing in Kansas City. And this was supposed to be, I know you believed in them, but most people felt this is a reset year for the Bills.
Yeah.
They got rid of their best receiver. The Chiefs won their 2nd Super Bowl and then strengthened the only weakness on the team, which was the receiving corps. That defense was young. They just got older, more mature, and better. And you added Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, who's been a good rookie, and DeAndre Hopkins. And you're going to kill Josh Allen if he can't go into Kansas City and win?
Brew, 3-0 versus another quarterback in playoff history. It's Mahomes over Allen right now. Brady over Rivers. He owned Rivers. That's the narrative through his entire career. I own this guy. Aikman over Favre, sure. Jim Kelly over Dan Marino, Elway over Broussard. And then look at this bottom line here in the white.
No one's ever been 4-0.
It'd be the first time in history, bro.
So
it can't be nothing.
It's the best quarterback we've ever seen.
It's the first time
with a great
in
defense
the history
and
of
one
the
of the
NFL.
best coaches we've ever seen.
So, hold on.
You're gonna if he plays terribly,
sure.
I get it.
Can I kind of break the tie? So I want to, again, if he were to lose, this is what their head-to-head kind of careers would look like if Mahomes wins the game.
I mean, what are you talking about?
So, no, not what are you talking about? I'm not
talking about
hold
this
on.
Patrick Mahomes.
Right, so here's my answer that I think everyone will agree with. Because that's what it'll look like. And by the way, that Super Bowl wins thing could jump to 4, but we're just going to say just on Monday what it'll look like. He'll never be able to be called the best quarterback in the league as long as Patrick's playing. The gap will be too big. Peyton was down 2-0 and then beat Brady. And Brady never beat him again in the playoffs. Peyton then won a Super Bowl before Brady won another one, got back to 2 more. You know what I mean? And it became a discussion.
Brady
and then,
went a long time.
Right, went a long time. If he is down 4-0 in head-to-head playoffs, 2-0 in MVPs, because I don't think they're giving it to him this year, sadly, at 3 or 4-0 in Super Bowls, and 5-0 in Super Bowl appearances, there is not enough road left in the race for Josh Allen for anyone to ever be able to credibly be like, he's the best quarterback in football. So you disagree with Brew and you disagree with me?
Yeah.
What is at stake for him then?
Well, at stake is that Mahomes would have his number officially.
Yeah.
But I view it more like I view the best quarterback in the league as like the heavyweight championship belt. Like all of a sudden you can get it. You could get it if he went on a crazy run next year and Mahomes had a mid-year.
Let's just say,
I would give it to Josh. Like right now, you're the heavyweight champion, but you're not the best fighter. That's still Mahomes.
Well, that's the best quarterback in the league. What you're talking about is league MVP, which he could
but it's
win.
like my kind of like fuzzy thing.
Okay, so you think that if Mahomes wins this weekend, it would be a credible argument 12 months from now for someone to say Josh Allen is better than Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah,
no, you don't.
It's like if like you could win Best Actor, but like Robert De Niro's like, you're not Robert De Niro. Granted, you beat me head to head in this Best Actor competition about this specific movie, but I'm still Robert De Niro. It's one of those.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.